All right, welcome back to Technique Quad, and welcome to take 2 of this first video since I just did the whole damn thing and we're reshooting the whole thing because I word vomited way too much information. Now I'm going to break it down and make it even more basic. This video is the first video in the squat, for the squat series rather. We're going to do an overview video right now and mostly focus on the basics and air squatting, and then we're going to come back in video 2, we're going to do front squats, video 3, we're going to do back squats, and then we're probably going to do a whole bunch more videos on squatting. But those are the first 3 we got planned. So again, this is an overview video, and all the basics are going to be covered here, and then we'll talk about the details of all the barbell movements down the line. First, if you don't know what air squat looks like, it looks like this. Basics, just your own body weight all the way down, all the way up, just like that. So I'm going to talk about just the basics there. Number 1, starting with my spine, probably the most important thing that you need to think about when you're squatting is to keep a normal, neutral spine. So from the side, whatever my back looks like this, if I have a normal curve that goes slightly into my body at the very bottom here, since the most common injuries with your back and squatting happens at the very, very bottom, that's where I do not want to round. I want to keep a normal, neutral spine. So here, ribs down, butt goes back, and my back position shouldn't change. I'm going to go here, and then I'm going to kind of sink down like that. And my back is still nice and straight. My back position didn't change at all. It just moved in space, but it didn't actually change form. Okay? If you're a person that either rounds like this right away, which would be really extreme, usually it happens at the bottom like that, and then you kind of butt wink and then you get it back at the bottom. Here'd be a butt wink. I'd round, and then I'd get it back on the way up. Okay? Not the worst position you could be in, but it's not good either. So you don't want to butt wink, you don't want to round your back, but you also don't want to hyperextend. I don't want to be here and then go like this. Because see how my back is like super curved now?
Stripper booty.
Stripper booty, that's right, twerking. Okay? I don't want to do that, not in here anyway. I don't want to break and then go down. I want to keep a normal, neutral spine. Butt goes back, but my back position stays the same. So that's point number 1. Always keep a normal, neutral spine. You never want to hyperextend, and you never want to hyperflex, which means to round your back. Okay? Point number 2, knee position. I never want my knees to dive towards each other like this. Anytime my knees dive towards each other, if my upper leg is going that way, and my foot is going that way, that means this bone is curving that way, and this bone is curving the other way. And what that means is that they're going opposite directions, and that means I'm twisting my knee. My knee is designed to bend. It's not designed to twist. When you twist your knee, that's how you tear your ACL. It's how you tear your meniscus, and it's how you f your knee up. So don't do that. You want to just bend your knee. You never want to twist your knee. So in order to get around that problem, number 1, I don't want to toe out super far, because then I would have to push my knees out super far. Most people don't do that. Their knees would go forward, and I'd twist my knees. So I want to have either toes pretty much straight ahead, or maybe just toeing out a little bit. That's not a bad thing necessarily to toe out a little bit, depending on who you are for a variety of reasons, which I'm not necessarily going to touch on this video. Those are details. But as long as you're kind of in this normal range, you're probably okay as long as your knees are out over your feet and they are not diving towards each other like that. So at the bottom, I should be like this. If I drop a line straight down from my knee, it should land somewhere either on my foot or right in front of my foot. It should never land to the inside of my foot. Okay? If you look at me from the side right here, if I squat down and my knee is down here and my foot is over here, then I'm hurting my knee. Even if it doesn't hurt in the moment, it's going to hurt eventually. Eventually, you're probably going to have surgery once you blow your knee out. So most injuries aren't a one-time deal. They're doing something wrong over and over and over again. You get a little bit of tearing, a little bit of tearing, a little bit of tearing, and then eventually it breaks for good and you get a catastrophic injury and then you're out for a year or 2 years after having surgery on your knee. So knees out means knees not in. It doesn't necessarily mean I need to push my knee out further than this. Maybe a little bit, but any further than that is totally unnecessary. I'm just trying to get back to neutral, back to normal. I'm twisting my knee one way this way. I'm twisting it the opposite way if I keep going out that way. I'm way more likely to get hurt this way than this way, but that has its own set of problems. You're just trying to get back to normal, okay? So that's point number 2. Point number 3 is I want to keep my heels on the ground. I'm always trying to squat, pushing through my heels or pushing through mid-foot. I never want to be on my toes like this. If my heels are coming off the ground like that and I'm putting all the weight on the ball of my foot, then I'm taking the stress away from my hips. I'm putting a whole lot more stress on my knees. It's much harder on my knees. There are some minor exceptions to that rule, but even those exceptions, if I'm like this, my heels are still on the ground, even though center of pressure might be mid-foot or maybe even forward. If I'm catching a heavy front squat and I push my knees forward and I get a little bit mid-foot and I'm not super heel heavy, you know, that's potentially okay. As long as you don't drop the lift if you're trying to hit a PR in a competition, that's fine. Guys like Tommy Kono, former, you know, one of the best athletes in the world for Olympic weightlifting, you know, decades ago, he used to talk about squatting on your toes, and that's kind of what he was talking about. So there are some exceptions to that rule. They're very minor, and they probably don't apply to you in most cases. You want to squat on your heels 99.99999% of the time, okay? So heels always down, knees always out, back always straight. If you can keep all those things in mind, then for the most part, you can be able to squat in a healthy manner without getting low back or knee pain in the process, okay? If you are teaching brand new people and you're a coach, teaching an air squat, you know, is a great tool. If you're having trouble with a new client or rather they're having trouble learning the air squat, there's a few things you can do to help them learn a little bit faster. One thing is to give them a plate or a kettlebell and teach them a goblet squat. So anytime I hold something in front of me and I squat down, I consider it to be some variation of a goblet squat. Having this weight in my hands right in front of my chest or my face makes it where I have a counterbalance, which means I can lean super heel heavy and I don't fall over. And also having this weight out in front of me, having the weight out in front of me here makes me fire all the muscles in my core and torso area, and that adds a lot of stability to my spine and just makes it easier to have that stability and to stay balanced. So counterintuitively, it is heavier, but it makes the movement easier to learn, especially with new people. So if you're having trouble with air squats, then try a goblet squat instead and see if anything shakes up. Usually it's a little bit easier to get lower on a goblet squat with good technique, okay? This is all being said this is all said kind of with the assumption that you know how to check for mobility restrictions. You know how to see if they obviously don't have very good ankle mobility or they obviously don't have very good hip mobility. You know, if they have mobility restrictions, you need to address those separately. Our maximum mobility course that I put together is designed to do exactly that. If you're interested in mobility testing, you can check out that product in the Barbell Shrugged shop. But for today, you just need to be able to recognize if mobility is the thing that is limiting your client's range of motion as opposed to just them not understanding exactly what to do, okay? One final thing is to use Gray Cook's concept of reverse patterning, which is where you take somebody and instead of starting them at the beginning of the movement, which is standing up normal, this is kind of the end of the movement, and then they go back to the beginning of the movement. You switch it, and you start them at the end, and then they go to the beginning, and then they come back to the end, which basically means they start sitting down.
Oh, no, you didn't.
So if I have someone just sit down normal, maybe they sit down normal, and they sit like this normally. Well, that's a bad, you know, if you sit like that, it's not the end of the world. A lot of ladies sit like that. That's totally fine, but it's a bad position to squat in. You don't want to have a bunch of weight on your back with your knees damn near together like this. So you can have someone sit down on a box, and then you can grab their foot, and you can put it where you want it. Say, put your foot there, pull your heel back a little bit. If their knees are in like this, put your hands on the outside of their knees. Say, push out against my hands. They'll push their knees right out over their feet. Say, okay, great. Keep your knees right there. Don't move. Now sit up nice and tall. See if they can sit up nice and straight. If they're sitting like this, and you tell them to sit nice and straight, and they go, ugh, then the box is probably too low, and they don't have very good mobility in their hips or whatever. Thoracic spine, they might be locked in position for whatever reason. You probably need to take a plate like the green plate on the ground, put it underneath my butt, raise me up a little bit, try again, and then build them up to a position where they can actually get nice and tall, heels down, knees out over their toes. Once they have those three things established, Then you can say, okay, now lean forward a little bit, drive through your heels, stand up, and then look to see how they do it. If they can be in that position, in a good position, on the box or the bench or whatever they're sitting on, and then they can stand up in a perfect position, then you can say, great, now squat back down. And they can use the box at that height as a teaching tool to put them in the right position so they get used to that pattern. Eventually you can take the box away, or you can lower it down, and they can progressively go lower and lower and lower as they learn how to do the movement, and as they develop more strength and more mobility in those lower and lower positions. So the goblet squat and squatting down to a box is an excellent way to teach new people how to squat. So that's it for the overview video. All of these concepts, they're the basics, but basics are best, and they're going to be used when you're front squatting, back squatting, and overhead squatting. So even though we didn't use a barbell in this movement, still all these concepts you're going to use the whole rest of your life. So take the basics seriously. In video number 2, we're going to talk about front squats. In video number 3, we're going to talk about back squats. And then again, we'll probably have a few extra squat videos, but I haven't decided what those are going to be yet. But if you want to check those out, they'll be on barbellshrugged.com once they are finished. So go to barbellshrugged.com, click on episodes at the top of the page, click on Technique WOD, and you can check out all the videos in the library on the site. I will see you another day.